All right, it's show number 96, recorded on October 29th. And I'm your host, Mike Howard, and tonight I am joined by co-host Tim Kimperly. Tim, how are you tonight?
Very good, Mike. How are you?
Doing very well. And Tim, I said this is 96. That means we're 4 away
From the elusive
from
100.
100. And 4 happens to also be the number when Tim came to the podcast. So,
Oh, this is true. Yes, I
you-
can't believe I'm here that long.
yeah, no, it's been a
Oh,
long,
just come in for a visit. Oh, you know, I don't have anybody this week. Can you join me?
Yeah, I kind of tricked
Yeah.
you into that.
Okay.
So we're coming up on that magical 100, and I keep talking to one of the members one of the people who was on show number 100. She really has not done much with her photography, but I'm going to see if I can get her to make a little cameo appearance on number 100. We're not going to do a big. I don't want to do a show that's focused just on the previous 100, so we need to have an actual show. But I do want to have a little bit of history in it, so we'll see if we can get her on. We're also tonight joined by Ces White.
Hello.
Ces, what have you been up to? I think you started listening to us on Stitcher, and we still have a large Stitcher audience. We love our Stitcher people, Stitcher listeners, and you've been very busy in and out of the Facebook group. What's been up with you?
Just with my wife and I, we've been building the business, and it's been nice lately. I mean, in spite of having a newborn and a 2-year-old and working Air National Guard also. I'm Illinois Air National Guard.
Okay.
We've been able to just kind of continue building our photo business, which is pretty much what I don't want to say starting out, but I was getting more serious about when I started listening to the show way back in the day. So yeah, it's just been a whole lot of that, just kind of juggling it and trying to make it work. Today's potty training day, so there's a lot of fun going on at our house.
That's for your son, not for you, right?
Wow.
Yeah, for our son. Yep. So that's it.
And somewhere mixed in there, you also had a move, right? You had a temporary move or something.
We with the Air National Guard, I went to I had some training on the East Coast, so I was over in Maryland for several months, and we actually all were, but we packed up our house and we ended up moving to another place right beforehand. So after we were done with the Guard for that specific trip, came back here to where we are right now, and it's just house full of boxes, nothing unloaded, anything like that. This is mid-August.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're back. We got pretty much everything unloaded. I have an office now, which is great because needed it.
Yeah.
but yeah, we're rolling, and it's better than ever so far. So yeah, it's good.
Okay.
It's a good year.
Well, and you brought up something that's been brought up before, so we're not breaking new ground here, but I did want to talk about it tonight. You brought up in the Facebook group, which I'm looking at it now, Tim, and 978 members.
Woo.
So we're getting close to the
Right.
1,000 member list, and actually have somebody who's wanting to join right now. So I have to deal with that when we get done here. But you brought up something in the Facebook group that's been talked about before, and I wanted to talk about it. And it may be old hat for some of our listeners who this is not a new subject, and they probably read up on it. But I imagine that there's some of our listeners also who are maybe new to SLRs, digital SLRs, and don't know about this debate or where things are heading. May not even know why a DSLR is called a DSLR. So I wanted to go over that a little bit. And what you're talking about in the post, Ces, is basically are DSLRs dead? And here's some of the big names like a Trey Ratcliffe. They'll do a post, DSLRs are dead, or something like that, to bring that the people to their page to come and read their article and get all those links and everything. But they bring up a good point: is are DSLRs dead, and are they being replaced by these mirrorless cameras?
Right.
So before we get into that, okay. Before we get into that,
and dead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just got a text from my wife. So my son, this is way off topic, but I'll say it in an early stage. He's almost
potty
8.
training.
No, he's
No,
he's the opposite of that. He's a teenager, and he's almost 18, and so we helped him buy a car, and
I dread that day.
you think that these kids who you don't have to tell them every single thing, but apparently you do. So we test drove it. When we're done buying it, I said, okay, you follow me. I'll drive home. You just follow me. We get home. I'm going, what's that smell? And he goes, I don't know. The car's acting a little sluggish. Well, it's because he drove all the way home with the emergency brake on.
Emergency brake.
So
yeah, I saw that coming.
yeah, so we got that fixed. Well, today he tells me, hey, the check engine light came on. And I said, hey, do you mean to come get you? He goes, no, I drove home. And I said, what? No. What? You don't drive home when the check engine light's on.
Actually, you
come.
can. As long as it's not blinking, you can drive home. If it's a solid check engine light, you can drive it. You just got to get it checked out.
Well, I didn't know that. That's a good point. But you know what?
Okay.
You know what he used as his reference that it was okay to drive?
I'm
What?
afraid to ask.
Yeah. You should be afraid to ask. You ever watch the show Big Bang Theory?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Penny.
Oh, Penny.
Penny on Big Bang Theory drives around with her check engine light on all the
Yes,
time, so
yes,
it must be okay.
Oh wow.
Penny,
There-
the check engine
there's-
light's on. Penny.
There's no hope
Sheldon,
for society
I know
when
it's
we're
on.
basing. There's no hope for society when we're basing our decisions on Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
Big Bang
Done.
Theory, Penny's car with the emergency light on. But
Wow.
so I'm just getting a text now. Well, so we checked it out. One, he had, as far as I could tell, no oil in the car. So
Oh.
I told him,
Ooh.
have you been checking this? He goes, I didn't know I had to check my oil. I said, yeah, it's an old car, you do.
Yeah.
So the light's still on. So when I'm done with this, I need to go see what we're going to do about that. But anyway, what we're talking about there is back to that. The main subject is, are DSLRs dead? Are they going to be replaced by mirrorless cameras? And Sesh, you brought that up. So
Okay,
what's your thought on
Okay.
that topic?
Well, my thought is that people. I think that when people say dead, I mean, I think that it's a little bit sensationalism, but it's not all false either. I think it's kind of a. I think that mirrorless really might be the next legitimate step for serious photography. I'm not saying that that it nullifies your current DSLR. It doesn't junk your camera, your whatever money you spent into it. It's still a good camera, can do whatever, but eventually I honestly think that most people are probably going to have most people on a certain level, whatever level that may be, of how serious they are, they're probably going to have a mirrorless camera, just because it's lighter, and at some point it's going to be tit for tat, it's going to be on the same level with the DSLRs as we know them now. So it's kind of, to me, it's kind of like the film to digital. It might be kind of that thing with the mirrored camera to mirrorless.
And let's
So I mean, that's my opinion.
let's talk a little bit about what a DSLR is and what's happening there. And really, I think this was the same way with film cameras too, right? That you basically would, and I have a little diagram up here. This is on. I can put the link in the show notes because it's not my diagram. It's robertmackham.com. And basically, the front part you're seeing there, and I'll try to use my mouse. I don't know if y'all can see that, but the front part you see here is the lens attached to the camera body, and the view is actually coming in through the lens, hitting a mirror that's at an angle, then coming up and hitting a set of mirrors that then routes it back out to your eye. You're looking through the viewfinder.
Well, that's actually not another set of mirrors up there. That's a prism.
But
That's ground glass up there.
The pentaprism.
Yeah, that's a prism. So it works as a mirror, but it's not a mirror.
I was trying to keep it simple, but yes,
I'm
you're right.
I'm sorry.
You're absolutely
Way to
right.
get technical.
And the thing behind that mirror that you're seeing there, if you can see in this example, there's a couple of dark lines behind the mirror. That's actually the sensor, and I imagine in this case he's got the filter. There's a Bear filter, whatever that thing is called, maybe in front of that thing. I don't know exactly. I haven't read all this.
Well, that could have
What are
been
you
film
showing
in the old days. That was film back there.
It could have been film. In this case, I think it's a sensor. So
Right.
whenever you go to take a picture, that mirror actually flaps up and lets the light come through. Right?
Correct.
And then it
Split
hits your
second.
sensor. Yeah. So that's what you're hearing, that flap around. One of the sounds. There's other sounds that may be happening, but that's the sound you hear. In a mirrorless camera, that mirror's gone.
Yeah.
You don't have the mirror. You gonna say something, Tim?
Well, yeah, I mean, and I could speak from my camera. My camera, I have it's called an SLT, so it's a single lens translucent. Instead of a mirror in my camera, that mirror in, let's say, the mirror piece that's there is see-through, so the light goes through. 90% of the light will go through the mirror, and the rest will go into the focusing mechanism, for lack of a better word. So my camera doesn't flip up. Now my camera is the same size as a regular SLR, so you probably wouldn't even realize it. But instead of my viewfinder being a projection that's coming through the camera lens, it's actually another screen in there. So I have a small screen that I am looking at.
TV.
Right, it's a little TV, like you would have seen, let's say, in a video camera from years ago.
And you hit on several key points. So one, 10% of the light is in your camera. This may not be the case in every
approximate,
camera,
right?
but in your camera, about 10% of the light is being siphoned off and going somewhere else.
Correct.
Meaning that only 9/10 or so of the light is actually hitting the sensor, right?
Correct.
So there is that. There is a little bit of loss there. And that actually is better. It used to be worse than that in the past, and they're getting better and better at that too. So in general, if you had two equal sensors, if that thing behind the mirror and the thing behind your translucent glass was the exact same sensor, then the one with the mirror would be better, or let in more light, let's say, which in most cases is better. But that difference is getting less and less and less. But the other thing is the focusing. Up until recently, the focusing on a mirrorless camera has been all what's called the contrast type focusing, which is not as fast or as accurate as the crosshair focusing.
Maybe that's what hurt the Canon, the Canon M. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think, Seth, you're absolutely right in that technology is going to keep moving forward, and
yeah.
There's nothing.
I mean, I go back to when I was looking at the digital cameras, and I said, "There's no way I'm going to digital. The picture quality is nowhere near as good as film." And you know what? Sure enough, you got to realize technology is going to surpass everything.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so there's nothing that we should, for just the sake of the mirror, should say I'm going to hold on to DSLR because I want a mirror. Really, I think most of us as photographers, we may have things about the body we like. In my case,
I love the feel. I like the feel. I actually like the weight. Some people don't. That's fine. Right now, where I am, I'm really comfortable with the weight. I like the feel of it.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
But, my mom would never use a camera. This is the Nikon D700 with the battery grip and with a Really Right Stuff L bracket. So it's got some weight to it. I mean, you could do damage to somebody with this thing.
Worst comes to worst, yeah, you could throw it, right? And
this is only with the 50mm lens on it. So you put a 70-200 on this thing, and it's getting pretty heavy. For me, I don't mind it. I like the little bit of heft. I feel like I get more stable shots with it.
Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of people, like my mom, this would be too heavy. She would want something smaller.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. My wife's favorite thing to say right now. She's like, "This is a heavy camera." Mm-hmm. But the camera that I kind of rolled over to her, I told her was her camera for the longest time, is the T3i, which is smaller. But even with the battery grip, she's still like, this has some weight to it. Mm-hmm. So, we'll see how that goes once she starts shooting more or whatever happens. We'll see what happens.
So Tim, wait, Seth, do you have a mirrorless camera?
I don't have a mirrorless camera, but I was looking at some. I was looking at one that everybody hates right now.
Which is what?
And that's part of the reason that I'm looking at it, because for one, the price came down, and for two, I can put Magic Lantern on it, which I love Magic Lantern.
Which camera is that everybody hates?
Not everybody. The people that own it don't necessarily hate it, but the Canon M.
Okay.
Mirrorless, and a lot of people really don't like that camera for a couple reasons, but the biggest reason is autofocus. Is that it has a sluggish autofocus, especially if you put one of the regular Canon lenses on there, like one of the even one of their L lenses, any of those good white ones that you see. It just has a sluggish autofocus, and the picture quality is good, but it's not like groundbreaking or anything like that. And the video quality again is good, but it's not a whole lot of new stuff. The biggest thing about that, besides the fact that it was mirrorless, is that it has a touch screen on the back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make it almost like a smartphone on the back.
Well, you know what? Basically what they did is they took they refresh the Rebel series pretty much every year. Well, it is every year. So they have the T3i, 4i, 5i, so on.
Right.
Okay, so they basically took the T4i, which has the flip-out touchscreen, and they shrunk it down into a mirrorless form. That's pretty much what they did. It has the T4i sensor. It has a lot of those specs. It just has a different body that only has 2 native lenses. But I mean,
well, I think that's the
you
bigger.
can get an adapter.
I
That
think
was
that's
a big
the big
problem too.
right now. It's lens selection compared to an SLR.
Yeah, well, and yeah, that's valid. But the thing is, you can get a decent and not lose autofocus. You can get a decent adapter. You can get either the Canon brand adapter that they actually give you because they knew that people were going to want to use their lenses.
Okay, yes. Well, that's one way to get somebody to buy the body, right?
Exactly, which was overpriced. It was like $160 or something like that. Or there was one I saw on Amazon that also has those leads and stuff. That's is like Photo Diox or something like that. I don't know, one of those other brands. But for like a third of the price, and according to the reviews, it's just about as good. So
let's go back to the focus, because you mentioned some focus issues, and that's something that even today the DSLRs have the advantage. Now, how wide that is depends on which DSLR versus which mirrorless camera you're looking at. But you look at the top of the line DSLR versus the top of the line mirrorless camera, and the DSLR is still better in most situations because it has more crosshair sensors versus the mirrorless ones are still using a lot of contrast ones. And if you take your camera, depends on which camera you have, you probably have a mix. If you have a DSLR, you probably have a mix of some are cross sensors, some of them are contrast. Find out which ones are contrast and try and focus with that on a moving object or something like that, and then move over to one of your crosshaired ones and see what kind of difference there is. There should be a noticeable difference in how fast it reacts to a moving object. And so if you're doing maybe portraits or something like that, something that's not going to be moving, a child run around would be something pretty fast. But let's say a stationary item, or maybe landscape or something like that, that quick focusing is not nearly as important. If you're shooting sports, like Tim, you shoot soccer.
Yes.
And you're the only one of the three of us who has, and you actually own a mirrorless camera.
Correct.
Yeah. And where did you come from?
I came from, what do you mean?
What camera did you have before that?
I had another Sony, the A700.
Which was a DSLR, right?
Yes, it was a DSLR, and now I got the A77, which is pretty much the same thing, except it's now, a couple of the additions are, it's mirrorless, it's got video capability, it's got a GPS in it. Really, the video is what I liked. And that one of the big advantages of the mirrorless camera also is, now when you're shooting video, it will actually autofocus for you. Mm-hmm. Or when you're taking pictures, it will autofocus, which was the biggest problem with the mirrored cameras that had video in there. Once the mirror flipped up, it could no longer autofocus.
Yeah.
Except for the the T4i, that's when they actually changed that, where while you're recording, you can autofocus.
Right, and that's getting added to more and more cameras now.
Mm-hmm. So with your old camera versus your new one, and your son plays soccer, right?
Yes.
Have you noticed any speed differences or any focusing issues, old versus new? And to be honest, I don't know about the old one and how good it was.
Yeah, I think if anything, it's probably been improved. But now I'm also using better lenses than I had before. Both of my main lenses are 2.8, so I'm getting more light into it. So I think it's from what I could feel, it's faster. It doesn't hunt as often, and that's also technology from probably 4 years prior, my older camera. So 4 years is a lifetime now in cameras.
And so maybe that's not a good example, but I think there are some situations, where DSLR is still going to be better than a mirrorless camera. But what we need to
this point,
what we need to keep in mind as we go through this discussion is there may be times when one of us feels, or whatever, that the DSLR still is on top. But DSLRs are near the top of their evolution. I mean, they're not going to make, neither Canon or Nikon are not going to wake up one day and say, we have just dramatically improved our focusing engine and it is now 10 times faster and 10 times more accurate. They're making minute changes in that thing. From you look at my D2X versus the D4. Yeah, the D4 is better, but it's not like worlds better. When I got the D700, yeah, it's better than my old D2X, but it's not like crazy better. It's slightly better. With that, I'm saying that these are near the top of as good as they're going to get. They'll
Just
continue
about,
to
yeah.
make it. Where the mirrorless cameras are more toward their infancy. They do
You know what, though?
they are building on the DSLR knowledge, so they don't get
Yeah.
to go from ground zero and have a 100-year run where they're going to make crazy evolution. But go ahead.
Well, Mike, I'm reading an article from Pop Photo right now, and it compares the A77, which is my camera, versus the Canon EOS 7D as well as the Nikon D300, and it focused faster than both of those cameras. It pretty much
Which one?
all
The new Sony?
my Sony here, which is now, I guess, probably a year and a half old. I got it. Compared to the EOS 70, which was Canon's camera at the time, which was not a mirrorless camera, and the Nikon D300, and it focused faster than both of them. So it's not losing any speed to either of those cameras.
And I need to see that article. Did they what kind of light did they focus in? You know, what kind of conditions?
They checked it at all light levels, and this is popular photography, so it's not a run of the mill.
Well, include that link in the show notes so we can put that out there too.
Okay, it's from
September
2011, so 2 years old.
Yeah.
So and another quick thing about like the evolution of DSLRs, I think I don't know where I heard this recently, but you know, if you go like to Canon headquarters or to Nikon headquarters or something like that, they have I think someone said that they were there recently and they saw some camera that can do all this cool whiz bang stuff that they've actually been able to do for a little bit for a while. But all these new features, they're new to us. You know, they've planned these things out. And they've had this tech for time.
Sure.
And now they're trickling these things out as they see fit, so they can not monopolize necessarily,
monetize.
but so they can capitalize,
Yes.
so they can monetize and capitalize on what they have. They don't want to cannibalize what they already have. They want to ride that pony out and make the money that they can, right?
Right. I mean, you don't. You know, some things take a while to work out, so it could be that. Other things you want to. You want to. I will give you this time. Then a year from now, I'll put out another version with this, and that way you get people continue to buy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like Adobe. You know, they have all these features that they come out with here, and they make this decision to themselves: do we release all of this right now, or do we put this half in the next version and then the next half in the following version, so that we can kind of spread these things out and have some. I
don't want to get off too far on a tangent here, but I know Adobe. You're bringing up Adobe. They do have some real serious problems right now. Someone stole their source code. So I don't know all the programs they got, but that is a pain that us as I don't know if they said Photoshop. I don't think it was Photoshop or Lightroom, but there were some other products. If you use some of these products, I think that is a pain that we're going to feel for a long time.
Yeah.
Because when hackers get the source code, they can plan out, attacks for years to come, and your only solution, if you're Adobe, is to completely rewrite the software. Wow.
And how horrible is that? Now that we're in that transition of being locked into a lease versus actually having the software. Isn't that crazy?
It is. But you mentioned them leaking stuff out over time, and sometimes the big guys. Or they don't want to jump into new technology. Nikon has been releasing something. They've got the Nikon 1 out there. Canon has something. So they are coming out with their mirrorless stuff. So that's good. But what they got to be careful of is where it looked like this was a two horse race. Canon, Nikon, and Olympus was so far back. They hadn't invented the wheel yet. Really, somebody came out of nowhere, and that is Sony. And Sony now is really innovating at a faster clip on these mirrorless cameras. And if Canon and Nikon aren't careful, they're going to lose something there. They do have a baked-in group like me. I have all these lenses, and I am not going to switch systems and lose all my lenses. And you mentioned, Seth, that I could get an adapter. For this,
it's not expensive. I mean, it's really a viable solution.
I would much rather be able to just attach my lens without any kind of adapter.
Think, and especially you look at a lot of the lenses for the mirrorless cameras, they're a lot smaller. So now you don't want to stick this big bulky thing on the front of a small camera. So I think most people are probably going to wind up buying new equipment altogether. I
Yeah,
mean, Trey Radcliffe, he switched over to the Sony NEX7, and he realized he wasn't using it, and he decided, I think he went on a trip. I was reading his article on it, and I was listening to him on another podcast a couple of months ago, and he talked about how he went on the trip. He said, you know what, I'm going to take the NEX7, the lens that comes with it, and I think he took maybe another lens, and that is it. He's going to see if he can do it. And it convinced him so much that that is the only camera he now uses. Sony was going to sponsor him. He said, you know what, I don't want a sponsorship.
He doesn't want, exactly.
He wants to do it because he wants to do it, which is even better for Sony.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they got a pretty good person backing him up, and Trey's pictures are phenomenal.
Yeah, Trey.
And you know, part of the reason he does that is so he doesn't get locked in too. Because I mean, I know he's genuine and he does believe in what he's using right now.
Yeah.
But he I think at one point he said that he wants a piece of equipment that can do the job. He's not looking for allegiances or anything
that's
like
all he
that.
wanted. And it's like you said, I mean, you think about how much we carry when we go on a photo shoot. I mean, I got my backpack. People look at me and think I'm a professional just with what I'm carrying. And half the time, do I need it? Like when I go on a vacation, I take stuff, and now I'm getting to the point where it's like, am I really going to use that lens? Am I really going to need my flash? Well, yeah, I'm going to take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now.
So one of the reasons that people are married to their brand, whether it's Nikon, Canon, Sony, or whatever, is the lenses. And while while somebody like Trey can,
the biggest reason.
Yeah, while somebody like Trey can afford to go out and buy all this new equipment and replace his primary lenses, a lot of us can't. You look at my 7200 lens. It's a 2.8 Nikon, vibration reduction lens. Brand new. That thing's like $2,500 or more.
Right.
I am not going to go out and buy another one for a mirrorless camera. And that 7200 range, I love that range. That is, for me, probably of all my lenses, it is the one I use the most. Now, it's probably not 50% because I do a lot of landscape too, but if you added percents up to all of the different lenses, it would be the lens I use the most.
Okay.
I'm not going to switch that until
now
I have to.
You're full frame though, right?
I am full frame.
See, and that helps. I have a 7200 as well, and with the 1.5 crop factor on my lens, it effectively makes it 100 and is it 105 or whatever it is. That's. I wish it was almost a 50 to 200.
Yeah.
So and I'm still not totally sold, guys, on the idea that everyone's gonna want to buy new lenses, because I want to get this M. I just want to go body only and just use the lenses that I have. Most of the reason that I actually want this is just kind of for side video, and then on the fly if I want to take something smaller. But I don't know. I think a lot of people, I think a lot of people might just do what they have if they can, because of the money thing, like you just said, so that they don't have to buy a whole new set of everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I figured out how much I have, and I got to be a little quiet because my wife upstairs, it's probably easy 10 to 15,000 in all my camera stuff.
Over
it
time,
adds up so fast.
Yeah, absolutely. So for established people like us, it's hard to switch. Somebody coming new, you really got to consider whether I want to go with a mirrorless camera.
The
one thing. So here's where I would hedge on that is when I buy a f-mount lens. When I buy a lens for the Nikon camera, I have a lot of confidence that when I go to buy the next Nikon digital SLR, that lens will work on that camera. I don't have this, if I buy this N1, and let me pull it up here. If I buy this N1 from Nikon, which is one of Nikon's mirrorless cameras, do I have how confident am I that mount? I don't even know what mount that is. Maybe it's an F mount.
No, that
would be funny.
It is actually something different. I looked
mount.
it up before because I was kind of playing with it. Yeah.
10 years from now, will their line of mirrorless cameras and that lens I buy work on the new mirrorless camera? I'm sure they would tell me today, absolutely, sure will, but I don't have the same confidence with them, because I have lenses that my father-in-law gave me that he bought 40 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever it was, that still will, it's not the greatest of lenses, but it will still mount on here and work.
Right.
And so I need to have some confidence. Now, what I would love to see is why not make a mirrorless camera that is the same mount.
I would love that.
It doesn't have to be quite as big. And actually, once you get rid of that mirror, it probably can be a little bit thinner. You can do a little bit thinner camera with that. So, so what's Nikon is at the D4 levels. That's their top of the line. That's their model brand right now, D4. I don't know if they have a D4X. I should have looked this stuff up. But will the D5, will the D6, will they still be a mirror camera, or will they go to mirrorless with those?
But you know what though? If you're a manufacturer, right, and you come out with this camera that everybody loves, but it has a different mount, if it builds up enough momentum, can't you make more money by changing the mount on it and making awesome lenses that go with that too, instead of making something that can go with your lens from 1985?
Yeah, but
I wasn't talking.
Maybe losing people.
I wasn't talking about what can make them the most money. I was talking about what I want.
Yeah,
I know, yeah, and I see that, but I mean, that's kind of where they're in the business of making money. And
but Seth, I think that goes right against what Mike said before, where I'm not going to switch camera brands because of all the lenses I own. But now, if I'm going to get a different model, where you know what, I don't have none of my lenses work on it, then I can switch to a different brand if I really want to. So in a way that they may jeopardize this and lose some of their people. Now I know Sony's SLR cameras, they're no longer all the new cameras they're developing, from my understanding at least, are going to be SLTs, single lens translucent. And you look at my camera, this is a mirror camera. Now it doesn't look any different than any other camera. It would look like a regular SLR. The only difference is the top here is not as tall. My other one was probably up to about here, so where the prism was, so it kind of lost that. So I mean, it looks the same. You would never know there was no mirror in this camera.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that there's probably going to be a market for both. That the N1 that we were showing a minute ago, or Nikon one, I keep saying N1. I think it's actually J1, and now they're up to J2 or maybe even J3. But
they have a V something in there too. I don't know.
Yeah.
They have a V.
So there may be a market for those having a different mount, and then maybe the bigger, like these having a different mount. It'd be nice if they could both have the same mount, but maybe it's just this. You're not going to put a 70 to 200 on that little thing very often. Most people wouldn't. So I think that we've gone over a couple of things there, whether it's the focusing, how good the focusing is on the two of them, and it sounds like there's some mixed information there, because I've read something different than what Tim has read, and we've gone over a little bit about the looking through the viewfinder. How's the noise performance on that thing? Is this your first full frame, Tim?
No, that's actually not a full frame. That's a 1.5.
Oh, okay.
So and you said you got that one about a year ago?
Probably about a year and a half, probably a year and a half ago now. I got it.
Now, so let me ask you, what they're doing for you to be able to look through the viewfinder and see something, because you don't have the pentaprism and you don't have the mirror.
Correct.
You're actually looking at a video screen,
Correct.
Live view. Is there any lag to that? Does it feel like you're looking at actual life, or does it feel like you're watching a TV of life?
No, it seems like exactly the same. The only negative I would say is when I turn the camera on, there's about a half second before the screen will show up. But then as soon as I bring it up, some of the things I do really actually like about this now, when I adjust the exposure on there, I see the exact exposure as to what it's going to look like. It will superimpose, if I want, the histogram right in my viewfinder, so I could see the histogram, so I know whether or not I'm going to be whether or not I'm going to have a good shutter. Plus, it'll show me one of the things I really like about it is it'll highlight in yellow the areas that are in focus. So what is it focusing on? So I can tell the detailed focus. So like if I'm looking at you, Ces, it would put a highlight around your head showing that is what is the focusing point. So to me, I really like that. Some of these things they've really come a long way on, and I like it. I mean, my original camera was Minolta. All my lenses were Minolta. Sony wound up buying them out. Yeah, and that's the only reason I went with Sony, because I was probably going to go with either Canon, probably Canon is where I was leaning toward, and then Minolta came out with the digital camera at the time.
Yeah, it's so funny with this manufacturer eat manufacturer. Like I was saying in the chat, what if Nikon bought Canon, or Canon bought Nikon, or Sony said, you know what, we give up, and then something like that? Where would everyone's loyalties go. Everyone would be just crazy. Dogs kissing cats, mass hysteria.
A Ghostbusters reference.
Well, Sony really took Minolta's technology and ran with it, which was surprising. I mean, my camera, the body of my camera actually has image stabilization. So all of my lenses have image stabilization because the sensor will actually move versus in the camera. So that was really one of the things I liked about this.
I wonder where Pentax is going to go with the mirrorless market. Like, I hope they jump on it and do something.
I'm amazed that
really
some of those,
great.
like Olympus and Pentax, that they're actually still around. I really am.
Now, you mentioned those are some of the advantages of a mirrorless camera over a DSLR, or with a mirror, is that those overlays you can do, and you're going to have the histogram on there. You can see what your exposure is going to be. With a digital SLR, if you ever shoot with different lenses, let's say you shoot with one that has an f1.4, it just seems so bright looking through that lens. It is so when you look through a 1.4 lens or better, or even wider, it just, wow, it is so bright. I love this lens. Have y'all had that same thought when you look through one of those like that? And then then if you put on like a kit lens that's an f4.5, it's like, what happened?
What the heck happened?
3.5 to 5.6, and it's like womp womp.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like zoom in and you lose all of that.
Yeah, and so it actually, with a mirror that is letting less light in, and you're looking at your image is darker through the viewfinder. With a mirrorless camera, you don't have that, right, Tim?
No, mine's pretty much bright all the way through, and I can adjust the brightness of it to either brighter or darker, whatever I want.
Now,
Exposure compensation?
Yeah.
Cool.
How is the low light? Like if you're doing a night shot and you're looking through the through the viewfinder there that's electronic,
it actually brightens it up.
Is it giving you an unrealistic view then? Is it green? Is everything green?
No, it's not green. It's not like infrared photography.
It's not like night vision.
Because it's showing me the picture that it's actually going to take. So as I adjust the only thing that where I will probably have to be cautious with, and I do it, I like to stop down, especially when I take flash pictures. I'll stop the shutter down to 1/15 or 1/10 of a second to try and brighten up the entire shot. And I got to be careful that sometimes I'll get an image blur, and then you can't see that on that little 2.5 inch or 3 inch screen, whatever's on the back of the camera. You can't always tell that he got blur there, and then when you get it onto your computer later on, it's like, oh, damn, wasted picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I mean, instant feedback, right? As soon as you snap it, you can see if you zoom in some.
Yeah, you got to zoom in, and that's what you really need to do. I mean, that has definitely helped my photography compared to when I was using film.
And I think a lot of the and those are really great features. I use focus peaking whenever I can when I'm using my manual lenses, especially because I have a 85 1.4.
Oh, I love that lens.
But the field of focus. I mean, when you got it all the way to 1.4, it's so narrow, right? And so I don't even use the viewfinder. I switch to live view, and man, Magic Lantern doesn't even pay me, but they should. Magic Lantern has focus peaking that you can turn on, and it'll do the outline of what areas in focus.
What is focus, right?
Which is pretty cool. Like when you kind of rack it, and you're zooming your focus in and out, you can kind of see the little dots moving closer and further and whatever. And that's cool. But I mean, that's a big thing for the mirrorless cameras and the people like me that use Magic Lantern on DSLR.
Yeah, that is awesome that you can do that, Ces. I wish more cameras were able to do that.
Not just Canon, and it's a third party thing too. Hopefully, they'll branch out.
Now, Tim, on your viewfinder, how is a lot of viewfinders on the back of our SLRs have gotten better and better with each new version come out, and the pixel count being higher and higher and higher. I've looked at some like live view cameras, let's say a point and shoot, and sometimes that video that you're looking at, through there, like you talked about the lag, and yours doesn't have the lag, but also it just seems the pixels aren't dense enough. It's not a dense enough pixel count, so you can see some of the pixels. It's not a good view. How is the view in yours?
Yeah, I can't. Oh, here it is. My the 3-inch. I forgot. It's very detailed. It's like 1.2 million or something. And it's got a lot of detail in the viewfinder, and I can't seem to find it in here. But No, it's detail. I'm not worried about that.
Okay. Well, let's talk about another advantage that the mirrorless camera may have over the digital SLR, and that is frames per second. Because you got to with a digital SLR, you got that lens. It's got to flip up, and it flips up between each shot, right?
Slows it down.
Yeah. So whenever I got my 70-200 here. I mean, not my 7200, my D700 here. And let's see if I can take some shots. There's not a lot of light in here, so I don't know if I can get full. I'm gonna take pictures of Ces.
But we can hear it though, whether they come out or not. You can hear it.
Did y'all hear that?
Yep.
Yeah, that was fast.
So this is, I think it's 8 frames per second. Now, Tim, you have a mirrorless, and let's listen to yours. Now, that sounded quite a bit less noise for one, right?
Right, but you still got the shutter going up and down, and that's shooting at 12 frames per second.
Yeah, so in theory, you should be able to shoot more frames per second with the mirrorless than you can with the.
In theory, I agree.
Yeah, in theory, and in this case, in practice, I think the fastest the Nikon D4 is 9, maybe 10 frames per second. So that camera you have right there is faster, and that's at full resolution, right, Tim?
Correct.
So you still have the issue of pushing those images. If you got a 16 or 24 or even more megapixel camera, you got to push all that data through the memory banks into the card. So you still got that issue, mirror or mirrorless.
Right, that's where you lose
the buffer.
Yeah.
After about 15 shots, it clogs up, and that's the fastest card I could get at the time.
But you have two things there. You may be able to go faster with your frames per second on with the mirrorless, and it's less noisy. So if you're in a situation, let's say a wedding, or some place where they don't want you to make you want to make as little noise as possible. That may have an advantage there too. I kind of like the sound.
I like the sound, but I tell you what sound I really like is the. Do you have a silent mode on yours on your Nikon?
No, mine's older.
But some of them whatever. But some of them do. For my
I'm thinking about getting a muffler for it that's actually going to enhance the sound.
A muffler like a sniper? I
just got a muffler for my truck.
or is in some of those cars that you see with the melon launchers on the back with the muffler that's that big.
Yeah, that's what I'm wanting.
So speaking of, we talked a little bit about the buffer lag. When that buffer fills up, you can't really shoot as fast.
Right.
What about the new mirrorless cameras that are coming out now? Are there mirrorless cameras that have CF cards? Because those actually write faster than SD cards do.
And my camera has a CF card, and I think everybody's moving away from the compact flash cards. I think everybody's moving toward the micro, what is that called? The
SD.
Secure digital.
But see, the thing is, they write faster though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, my SD card is 95 megs a second. Is what it says.
Terry out in chat has a D600, and I believe now I'm gonna forget which way it is. I think that they don't have compact flash. Terry, if you can correct me there. I know that the D800 has 2 card slots, and I think one is compact flash and one is secure digital. I can't remember on the D600 if it's just the secure digital.
Because I know the new the 5D Mark III has the it has a SD and a CF, and then Mark II, my camera just has the CF, which I'm not really pro one or the other, but I did find it interesting that the CF card, although it's like not as popular necessarily, it writes faster. Truth be told, I'd probably rather have an SD because my computer has an SD slot, not a CF slot.
I think you're going to see less and less compact flash. I think.
Terry says, and he confirmed that the D600 has 2 SD slots, so it doesn't take compact flash at all. So I think more cameras are moving that way to get rid of the compact flash. I like it. I like
the size of it. I'm not going to lose it.
I know. I like the size.
Well, yeah, that's one thing too. That's one thing.
And okay, so let's see. I got a list of things here. Let's see if we've covered most of them. The size of the camera. Oh, okay. Here's one for you. Is battery life, because you have to continuously have this live view, thing on. It's basically eating up your battery, and especially if you got a smaller camera, you may have less of a battery. The size of the battery may be smaller. And I know that, let's say I'm shooting soccer all day long, and I'm going to be shooting 2,000, 3,000 images. I'm looking to conserve my battery as much as I can. So I will actually make sure that the back, thing here is not coming up with every photo as it comes up, because you can have that thing set to like it comes up for a second or 5 seconds or whatever it is, so you can view it as it's going on. But that eats up battery. So I actually, in those cases, I might have it turned off to maximize my battery. Tim, how is the battery life?
I was just trying to think of it. When I was down in Disney, I took 1,200. When I took 1,200 pictures down there, I'm not sure if I charged the battery more than once. I really didn't charge the battery a lot, and I did take some video down there. Video will kill the batteries the more you use it. But
yeah,
I have my screen on all the time. Obviously the viewfinder is a live view.
That's
right.
right.
But I think the battery technology is just changing also. I mean, everything is changing to get a little better.
I know
that was another con with the Canon M was the battery life. It wasn't necessarily, they didn't say it was horrible, but it's just at this point people just kind of expected a little more.
I think that while the battery's getting better, it's getting better for the SLR too, so that and I'm saying SLR, but I mean digital SLR. If you think about it, in theory, the digital SLR should be better.
Should be. I agree,
because you're not using up battery, just looking through the lens.
But at that point, then, is the mirror, the raising and lowering of the mirror taking a power?
There may
be mechanism. That's a good point.
There's weight to that.
I'm sure there's using up some there, but having a live view being displayed on the lens, it has to take up more. And you think about how much you're looking. For me, if I'm taking sport shots, I'm looking through that lens a lot. But I may only go click, 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 click. I'm doing like a 3 or 4 shot burst every time I go to shoot. And those things are, I may have a minute between shots, but I'm still looking through the viewfinder. So in those cases, I'd be looking through the viewfinder the whole time, using up the mirror. Using up the live view.
Right.
Yeah, I like live view, but I turn it off when I can to save battery. But I've with the battery grip. You got 2 batteries in there anyway.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to do really battery grips for the mirrorless camera, because the general idea is for it to be lighter.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's another reason. So I have always had the battery grip. Even with my first Nikon D100, I got the add-on grip. Now the add-on grip for that one didn't feel nearly as good as this one on the D700. It felt like a real, something that just got clamped onto it. My next 2 bodies were the Nikon D2H and Nikon D2X, which were the Pro models, and they had the built-in grip. And having that grip, and now the D700, it really feels good, even though I have that L bracket on it. Having that shutter button on the side when I'm shooting, this way.
So you don't have to have your elbow up in the air.
I really like that, and that's not something I'd be willing to give up.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. That's part of the reason I got it. Actually, the original reason I got it is so that my camera looked better than someone else's. But but no, that was okay. That was 2/3 of it. But 1/3 of it was I didn't want my elbow up in the air when I'm taking a shot.
Yeah, and I guess there's nothing to stop them from doing it. Again, we're talking about they could make a somewhat similar sized pro body or prosumer body that was mirrorless.
Right.
Yeah, that was mirrorless and still had all the features of a DSLR except for the mirror. So they could do that. There's nothing to stop them.
I really think they will. It's just why not? Why wouldn't they? I really think that's going to happen.
And we got 2 more things I wanted to cover, and then we can go into something else. Is flash sync? Is the flash sync on a mirror camera? Well, how fast will your flash sync, Tim? What's the flash sync speed?
1/250th.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's right there with the top of the line Nikons. Yeah.
That's where I went with this camera. It's not the top of the line Sony. It's the one right beneath the top of the line, and I love this camera. I really do.
Another question to go right with that. Do you have high speed sync on yours? Like if you were to buy
my lens does have a high speed sync setting on it.
Your lens?
My flash, I'm sorry.
The flash. So the flash doesn't, and if you're as long as your camera can do that, then you can surpass that 2/50th. That's my I have 2 of my flashes. They'll sync at 250, and then one of them syncs at 200. But on that one, I can turn on the high speed sync, and then I can shoot faster than that.
Yeah, I just confirmed it on D preview. It's 1/250th.
Okay.
Okay, so the last thing I had here is Seth, have you ever shot a wedding?
I have.
Would you?
I've shot a few.
So, hold on a second. Let's see if I can get this here.
Would I shoot a mirrorless camera at a wedding?
Does it look professional?
Yes.
Not
And
right
and
now.
some people, and I agree, people are going to question that.
Yeah.
Would you show it with this to shoot the wedding?
You're gonna pull up a picture?
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe you can't see it yet in chat.
Can't see it yet.
There it is. Or at least it is for me.
Gotta let it delay, and boom. No, I would not shoot with that at a wedding unless I was Ashton Kutcher, and I don't know.
Because, you know, right now people would think, hey, that's a point and shoot. I'm paying you.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
X dollars.
They would be
You
like,
came
"Who's
here
this
with
joker running around with a point and shoot camera?" That's what
Yeah.
they would say. They'd say, "Does he have an iPad Mini in his pocket? Maybe an iPad to put up there and block everyone else's view?" I'm
Yes.
sorry. It's a thing. It's a thing.
I hate
So-
that when I see somebody with an iPad.
I hate to say that it's you know the look and be vain like that, but there is
Stereotypic.
there is
But it's
Absolutely.
not necessarily vain though, because you know what? When you hire someone, how do you want them to look?
Yeah.
You know, because how the person you hire looks also represents you. So if you hire someone that's holding something that might have all the specs in the world, but if it looks dainty and has that perception
Dainty.
of
Yeah.
yeah, I'm saying, sorry, Ashton. I mean, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But if it looks like this little thing, then there's this perception, regardless of what
Right.
it can actually do. It's what people think. So
Absolutely.
they're like, oh, they cheaped out on their photographer. They're probably getting a sandals vacation. I'm just kidding. Nothing wrong with sandals.
And if you know if you're an established guy who's kind of in a world of his own, you know, he's in a class, the top of the class as far as photographers go, like Trey Ratcliffe, who can go with you know the Sony.
Then
Not
you can
worry
do
about
what
it.
you want, right?
He can do what he
Right.
wants. He's gonna set a trend. But if you want a lot of wedding photographers and I can't imagine a sport photographer right now going because of the focus, because I think the focus is still better on the DSLR, despite
Right.
despite what Tim said.
No, and I agree. You
What
go
found.
with the top of the line Canon.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's better than my camera. No doubt.
So I think that right now.
But that'll
Now,
change.
5 years from now, maybe a totally different story.
Exactly.
But right now, you can't get those, you know, the Sports Illustrated photographers to you move over, and you're not going to get a lot of the wedding photographers to move over. I mean, you look at Scott Kelby, who shoots professional football. You know, he's got a 400 or 600 millimeter lens attached to one of these guys. He's not going to attach it to this Nikon J1.
Right.
Unless he's
I
doing
mean,
a
I still
review
think
or
it's-
getting paid a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what, though? You go on vacation anywhere and you look at the cameras, you do not see these mirrorless cameras. You see tremendous amount of people with digital SLRs. I mean, way more than you saw people previously with a regular SLR.
because prices have come down so much.
Yeah, I don't. But my camera was still. I think it was probably $1,700 for the body, so it's not cheap.
Yeah.
You
I
can
mean,
get used. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go
but
ahead.
they're not buying used. But they're probably buying sub $1,000 ones. That's still. They're a little smaller, but it's still a DSLR, which 5 years ago people were not using. They were not using SLRs.
Yeah, you can get a T2i out right now for $300.
Right.
It's crazy. So I mean that's a few years old now, but still, so it's a good camera. So.
Okay, so that was really what I wanted to go over with the mirrorless cameras, and I think what we can say is the DSLR is not dead yet, but you know, and it may die a little bit slower than film. You know, once a decent digital SLR came on the market, and I wouldn't count those 1 megapixel Sonys that took actually my friend of mine at work had one that took a 3.5-inch floppy drop.
The
Disc that you-
McKeever or something.
Yeah, but
my
you stuck in there.
goodness.
I don't count those as realistic digital SLR digital cameras.
I remember those. My job had those back then.
I don't remember cameras that had that, but I tell you what, those floppies used to put an Oregon Trail on there, and I'm good to go, right? Play a little Oregon Trail on a black and white, yeah.
So I think that the SLR, you know, probably Nikon's next top of the line will be another DSLR, and I would be willing to bet
I
that the
agree.
one after that will be another DSLR, which takes us, you know, 2, 3, 4 years down the road. What's going to be interesting is maybe some of the middle of the road stuff, maybe the prosumer thing like the D300 and the
Right.
D7100, and those guys, whether the next version, I think you'll see it there first, whether the next version is a mirrorless camera with the same mount, or whether they stick with a digital SLR. I don't think they'll take their top of line there first. I think it's going to, you know, not the Pro line. I think it's going to be.
Because they test out. Yeah, they test out features, and then they're like, okay, this is ready for our Pro body. Let's do it.
Yeah, and as Terry says, you know, film lives on. Now, I'd imagine at some point, film may still be there, but digital SLRs go away because once you replace it with with another technology that everybody moves on to, there may not be that same love affair with the mirror as there is with film. Because you know what I'm saying? Film has people have a love for film and the quality that the film brings. That really is a different type of feel than digital does, and once mirror versus not mirror doesn't have that same feeling difference. So I think at some point, whenever Nikon moves their top of line SLRs over to mirror, and Canon does too, that the mirror is just going to die.
Then it's
there won't be that same
then,
nostalgia.
Then what we have is just kind of going to be not a relic, but it's going to be kind of a sign of the times.
Yeah.
Oh, who would have ever thought film would disappear? I mean, I didn't think so. And you think of companies. I mean, Kodak pretty much out of business. I think they sold off everything. So I mean, Canon, Nikon, Sony, any one of them. You know what? Somebody else could come up with something that may be detrimental. I mean, I was just reading. So we were talking earlier. Facebook, are their days numbered?
And I don't think that Facebook is done, but I think that they serve a different market now than they have before.
Well, and so we can move off the digital SLR because I think what we can say there is no, the digital SLR is not dead today.
I agree.
But it has some chinks in its armor, some big chinks in its armor, and
the tide is changing.
And it really we should just say it is the evolution of the digital SLR. It's not really is this one going to kill that one. It's just the evolution of it.
It's just a different type of camera, and future cameras are kind of going to be more like the mirrorless, most likely.
Yeah, there'll still be the debate of Canon, Nikon, Sony. You know, people love their brand, and it'll just then be one day it no longer has a mirror. So with that, let's move on to some of the closing stuff there. And I mentioned before about our Facebook group, and we're up to 978 now.
Chipping away.
Seth was talking about this month's challenge in the pre-show. This month was a self-portrait, and Seth has a great self-portrait out there. We got
Thanks. I'm waiting on yours still. It's going to be awesome, I'm sure, Mike.
We have 15 entries. I've not entered that much, and I debate whether I should ever enter these or not. I go back and forth on it.
See, if you don't, then you're teaching people that it doesn't really matter. See, now you have to.
That's true.
Just to be a part of the group. If you don't do it, it's like you're not part of the group.
I haven't done it yet either.
I'm just messing with you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You can mess with me. But it's a contest a challenge that we've been running since August 2012. So we're over a year now with this challenge, and it keeps going. We keep having a good interest in it. We've recently added in the last 6 months or so that if you win, you get a $25 Amazon gift card with that, Amazon.com, which may pose a little bit of a challenge for overseas folks. But if you can't use it, then I don't know what we'll do. But you're not doing it necessarily for the money, but it's a good way to get out there and shoot something you weren't going to shoot before. And if that month's topic doesn't interest you, the next month is something else. I already know what next month's going to be. Last month was his name? Nick Williams won. He was out there earlier. I don't know if he's still out there now, but Nick Williams won. And
wow.
You also get your photo at the top of the page here for the whole month. You win the challenge. You get the $25 Amazon gift card, and you get to name the next month's challenge.
Yeah.
So that if the only way you can enter is to be a member of the Facebook group. So come out and join us at facebook.com/groups/jpeg2RAW, and you can join in the fun. You can vote if you don't want to enter. You can at least vote by liking the images. So Seth has one out there. I know Nikki has one out there. There's a lot of good ones out there, and a lot of people
I think
wait.
there are about 15 in there, right?
Yeah, people wait.
Ansel Adams has one, you know.
People wait toward the end to jump in.
I mean, I just don't want to put my face on the internet. That's what it's about.
Well, not everybody put their face. Somebody had their
right
back.
Now.
Oh no!
Somebody had their back. So also 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whenever we had Chris Todd on from Flern, we mentioned that I was going to go and buy that one Photoshop 101 or whatever, introduction to Photoshop. I bought that, and I was talking to Tim before, and I could get your opinion on this, Seth, about maybe a way to give that away. I want to give it to somebody in the Facebook group, and the way we fund all these things, the way we give away the $25 every month, the way we buy that thing is, the money we make off of our affiliate links, I don't keep any of that. I want to give it right back. So, but in order to keep doing that, we need people to use our affiliate links. And for a couple months there, we were making less than we were giving away, and I can't go on too long, or else we would run into a negative. And but this month we're actually doing okay. So the thought is, I'll start a Facebook post, and I'll say, start this with November, and all you got to do is come into that Facebook post and say, I bought something on Amazon using the jpeg2RAW, link. And you're entered, and you can post what you bought if you feel like posting, but you don't have to. Just say that you use the link, and then you're entered in that challenge. Buy something you're going to buy anyway. You don't have to go make a special purchase. Just if you were going to go buy something, just go.
Holiday time's coming, and everybody's purchasing.
Yeah, it adds nothing to your cost of buying that product, and you just go out there and do that. First time here. What's up, Devil's Blade Author? Hey, hello, Devil's Blade Author. Thanks for coming to the show. We're actually wrapping things up here.
It's almost done.
Almost done.
We start the show at around 8:30.
I'm not seeing those comments. I must have. Yo, you know what? It says I'm in the mobile room. That's why I only saw one comment this whole time. Wow. Wow. I missed everything that was said. So yeah.
It was pretty quiet today in chat. Don't worry.
And you were in the mobile room. I don't know what that is.
I clicked. Okay, so I
did you actually go to live stream?
jpeg2RAW.com. I was about to click on live, and then this other one popped up. It said, yeah, I just clicked on what popped up without reading it. It says alternative live broadcast, and that's mobile. So maybe, yeah, that's what that is.
Okay. All right. Well.
Anyway, you were telling everyone to use the Amazon link.
Yeah, use the Amazon link. That goes back to fund these things, and we also have a Topaz Labs link and a Newegg link. Although we never get anything from Newegg, so and they don't pay out.
And I buy so much.
How is Topaz doing?
We have had almost 400 people go there unique. I don't know who they are because obviously it's not going to tell me that information. But almost 400 unique visitors go to Topaz using our link. 0 purchases so far. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe they go there and they don't find a product they want, and they decide, this is too expensive, or I don't want to use it, or whatever. I don't know because nobody has mentioned it back to me. But if you're going to buy something from there, use our link. And I now got distracted and forgot what I was going to say. Oh, we were trying to push and trying to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube because we wanted to be able to live stream through YouTube. Well, we've had some issues live streaming through there, so we've stayed with live stream for now. It's another product, but we eventually want to move over to YouTube. And YouTube did, in the meantime, reduce their requirement from 1,000 subscribers to 100 subscribers in order for you to live stream. Well, we've now gone over 1,000 subscribers. So if you're one of the subscribers that helped us go over that 1,000 mark, thank you very much for helping us get there. It's a real milestone for us to achieve that. So thank you very much for that. Going back to the photo challenge, what we did last December, we're going to do again this December. And that is, the December will not have a topic. The topic for December is just your best shot in that year, so the 2013. post your best shot in 2013 on any topic whatsoever. It can be one you used early in the year and won, whatever. And the winner will get, we're probably going to give something special to all 3 finalists, the winner and the 2 runners up. Give something to all 3 people. And it'll be a little bit bigger than what we normally give.
You know what? One I don't know if 1 week or 1 month, maybe something special. What if there was just kind of like a wild card one where people, they just said, hey, throw out different ideas, right? And then one of you guys pick out a cool one that we haven't done yet. Someone that didn't win previously might have a really good idea that we just haven't done in the group.
Well, isn't the December thing kind of a wild card?
It is, but it's not a theme though. Like,
you mean a wild card theme? Okay.
Yeah, as in someone that maybe hasn't won. Maybe you just put it out there in the group and say, hey, if you have any ideas, let's do for a particular, maybe not a whole month or something like that, whatever time period. Throw out some ideas, and then you pick out some wild idea that someone has. It might be something really cool. They just didn't have the opportunity to mention it before.
Yeah, I have to think about that because one of the advantages of winning is you get to pick the topic, and we've got some good topics from people who have won.
Yeah, I like the fire one.
Yeah,
but
I do
not
too.
a lot of people did that.
and let's wait for the post show, and I'll tell you about a mistake I made with fire.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, it's pretty stupid. So you only get this in a post show. If you come to the live show, you get to hear about the stupid stuff Mike does.
I heard someone in London or something like that set off somewhere in England. They set off a fire, and what people think is that they were doing some kind of a fire photography shot that went awry.
Hopefully,
anyway, I'm sorry, I'm dragging.
Hopefully, there weren't somebody trying to enter a contest.
Right.
So make sure you come out and join the Facebook group. We also, and I mention this every show, but nothing ever happens. We do have we have a nice little forums, and I'm the only one ever posting them. I spend a lot of time slowly improving them and everything. There's nice little forums organized neatly and everything, little polls and everything, and it's only me all by myself.
Oh.
So if you ever want to come out there and join me, I would like somebody to try and join using their Facebook account because I don't know if that actually works. I was already a member, so I set that up, and you should be able to join using your Facebook account and not have to go through the normal way. I'd love to see if that works. Also, if you don't want to join, but you just want to keep track of what we got going on, the calendar. Anytime we do anything, I post it to the calendar so you can see what we're going to have for a show. I didn't put it tonight's show, but I have the information there on what's going to be on the show. And anytime I book somebody, it immediately goes up there. There's also a download section where you can go and I think one of Ces's raw images for the photo challenge that's there.
Yeah.
So that's there, and the thought is eventually we can have people put in their Lightroom presets that they develop they want to share, not ones you bought, and Photoshop and other files that you want to share out there. So I'm going to keep it going, and maybe someday it'll catch on.
Yeah.
So I think that's all I had on my list, so we can wrap up. Ces, where can people find you? Are you on Twitter, Facebook? Yeah, your own webpage. Where's all the links where people can find you?
I have. I'm a big Facebooker, but since I've noticed that none of the kids are on Facebook anymore, I'm probably going to migrate a little more to Twitter, which I do have a Twitter. I just haven't used it a lot lately. But my website is design.me, spelled DEXINE, and that's my photography. You can contact me through there too. But yeah, or if you just want to Facebook chat me up, let's do it. Facebook Ces White.
Okay. Tim, I think the way to contact you is just send it to the podcast, just podcast at jpeg2RAW.com. And you send it to that and say you want to talk to Tim, this message is for Tim, and I will pass it on to Tim. And then you can contact me, of course. We are jpeg2RAW on Twitter. We're on Google+. We're on Facebook. If you just search for jpeg2RAW on Facebook, you should find our page and our group. and on the same thing on Google Plus and on Twitter. And then if you want to email us with comment suggestions, guest suggestions, we get a lot of guest suggestions, and we have a growing list of people we're going after. And that is a podcast at jpeg2RAW.com. The show is recorded, and we're, like I mentioned before, on YouTube, and you just search for jpeg2RAW on YouTube, and you'll find us. What?
If you, for the Stitcher listeners, if we leave a comment, well, I listen to Stitcher all the time. If Stitcher listeners leave a comment, how soon do you get those? When do you see those comments?
On Stitcher itself?
Yeah, the comments and ratings right below the thing.
That's a good. So far, you would have got that response never, because
now you know.
I did not know. I'm glad we have a Stitcher listener on the show with us tonight, because I did not know there's comments out there. I'm almost scared to go and look at them now.
I leave comments places all the time, and I never get a response. I was like, do people just not? But not you. You now know, and so you're ready.
Now I'm gonna have. So as soon as this show's over, I'm gonna go out there and look and see if we have any comments. The safest way, the best way to contact me, because even on Facebook, there's been times somebody left a comment, and for whatever reason, it didn't pop up in a way that I saw it. You had to go to like a sublink to find it. But the best way to contact us is podcast@jpeg2RAW.com. Those I will generally respond within the same day. So that's the best place to get us. If as far as the show, if you can't make it to the live show, we're recorded and we're on Stitcher, like Seth just talked about. We're on YouTube. We're on iTunes, of course. We're on even TiVo. We're on BlackBerry, on Zune. If we're somewhere that you're looking for us and you can't find us, let me know, and I will do my best to get us on there. But I think we're just about everywhere that you would try and get us.
If you can't find jpeg2RAW, you're not trying.
Yeah, you're not trying. You're not even looking.
That's right.
So that's all I have for now and for this week. And for next week, who do we have coming next?
Mike Oblinsky.
Mike Oblinsky. So next week, let me go to the calendar here, and this is really small, so probably people can't see the calendar. But for the next week, we have Mike Oblinsky. We had him on back, gosh, it had to be in the 30s, the low 30s, I think, when we had him on. He was the storm chaser guy who does all kind of photos of storms out west, lives in Arizona. And he just came back recently from a trip to Africa where he had some amazing shots. Not sure if it was a photo trip or maybe a mission trip, and he took photos, but we're going to talk to him all about that trip to Africa from more of a photographer standpoint, but also hear about what he did out there. And then after that, we have Zach Prez, and I'll mention more about him later. And then we're going to take 2 weeks off for Thanksgiving, and I'm planning on doing a lot of changes here. That's probably when I'm going to upgrade the broadcast system, because I need some time in case that crashes to recover from it. So we'll do all that during that break. But until next week, keep it raw. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.